Oh, this is nice. Oh, this is, oh, I keep saying this is nice, but it really is great. And I hit something. Welcome to Dirt, Sweat, and Gears, your mechanical failure caused by your mechanic's failure. We are here with my 1976 Camaro Rally Sport today, not because I'm going to work on it, but because I want to remind myself of why I'm working in the garage. You see, I really want to get this thing running, and I know you guys want me to get it running too. But in order to do that, I really need to get it in the garage. Now, technically, I can work on it out here, but as you can see behind me with the clouds and the construction, it's kind of chaotic, and it's just not a comfortable place to work. And so because the garage is just a much more controlled environment, it's a lot more comfortable to work in, and because of the chaotic weather, we really need to get this thing in the garage. And so in order to get this Camaro in the garage, we need to make room in the garage because it's pretty full right now. Let's go take a look. You see, I kind of got a lot of stuff in here. Over there, that's all furniture that is going to go up on the second floor as soon as this scaffolding comes down. Over here we have my Honda Prelude. This is non-negotiable. This goes in the garage. That's where it lives. I am not willing to compromise. I'm sorry. This car is not living outside for any amount of time as long as I can help it, unless it's an emergency project. But also, I need to be able to keep this area clear because this is the only section that doesn't have scaffolding blocking it. So I really can't just put another long-term project right here because I'm going to get this thing running and I'm going to need to drive it out. So in this video, as I'm sure you can imagine, we're going to be working on my Project Prelude. Now, if you're not familiar with this car, I bought this thing for $750 thinking it was a salvage car that I was going to strip for parts and put the parts into this car to make this car better. But it turned out to not be salvage. It turned out to be a car that was worthy of bringing back to life and getting into somebody's hands. And this car is so close to being able to run. Last video, we finished the clutch. We did most of the rehose. We reconnected everything. Up here, it is all nice and clean and ready to go, but we still had some work to do down below. What was blocking me from getting this car done? Well, it was this thing. This is a genuine Honda oil cooler O-ring that has taken over 2 weeks to arrive at my house. Yes, that's right. I got a whole set of tires in a lot less time than it took for this to arrive. So, during that time, I worked a little bit off camera. I cleaned things up. I put a few more things back together, put the suspension back together, and I got tires. And you see the wheels and tires on this car right now because I'm recording this out of sequence. So let's just go back in time, get caught up, and then we're going to get underneath this car. So I got new tires. I got them mounted and balanced. So I got a really good deal on these tires because I had tried to buy Otsu tires from discounttiresdirect.com and they were out of stock. So they gave me these Nexen tires for the same price. And the price difference was something like almost 10 bucks a tire. So I got kind of a great deal on these tires, but I did not get a great deal on mounting and balancing them. The price for that type of thing has just gone up over the years. The next thing I'm going to do is clean them. Clean these. So the next thing I'm going to do is clean these. And I want to do that off of the car because it's going to be a lot easier to clean. Because I can stand down here and it is right kind of at standing desk level. So really nice and ergonomic to just do it right here. And then I'll do this wheel, swap it out, put the next one up on top, and repeat until I've done it 4 times. And then I'm going to put these wheels on the car. So this is going to be a little bit tight, but I want to show you the trick to getting the oil cooler on. And the tricky part of that is this hose right here, this tiny little length of hose. So you want to get a little vice grip just like this, and you want to hold the ring clamp open and then just slide it on like that, and then just leave it there. So then we're going to come back, put a little bit of grease in here, put a little bit of grease in here. It looks like there is already a little bit, and then we'll be able to set this thing on. So there you have it with the vice grip holding the hose clamp open. you can slip both of these hoses on, and then once both these hoses on, you need to tuck the O-ring up in here. The challenging part with this is the O-ring likes to fall because of gravity. So if you get it just right, sitting in the oil cooler, you'll be able to very slowly, very carefully, just tighten this down with the thing kind of seated in there. And then you can just kind of, if you get the right angle on it as you're tightening it down, you can see that it's going to slip or if it's okay. I had to reposition it probably twice. Another thing you want to notice is that this little notch here will fit into the block. That will help everything line up nicely. And now that it is seated, we can bring our hose clamp, we can pop that off, and then use it to move this hose clamp down into position over here. And I think we're going to be done. We'll just need to put a filter on, and that is really it down here. It's just going to be reassembling these brackets and all of this crap here. But since it's so hard to see, I'm just going to go ahead and do that off camera. So I got this all together down here. I fell into kind of a trap. You see, this is actually quite a bit easier than it looks. The hard thing about this, or at least the thing that I thought was hard, was that this bolt up here was going to be really tricky to get to. I thought I was going to need my little universal joint to kind of come in at an angle. That turned out to not be the case. Let me show you really quick. So this one right here, you can just go straight up, and you can, I mean, you're pushing against the power steering line just a little bit, but it's still a good enough angle that you can work with it. And then over here, I thought would be even worse. It turned out to be even easier because you go in between the line and the subframe here, and get at this bolt. So I struggled with this needlessly, but once I figured that out, I felt really, really silly. And I wish I could have shown you that on camera, but it was impossible to get that angle. So I'm just admitting that I screwed up. I made it way harder than I could have, and maybe you won't make that same mistake. I got everything down here done. The last thing I need to do is to fill the transmission. So I've had it draining for a while, but I wanted to show you guys kind of what you're supposed to do here. So you have these two holes. This is your fill here. Up here, can you see it? Yeah, you can see it. This is your fill. This is your drain. You always want to take the fill plug out first. And there's two reasons you want to do that. First, you want this thing to drain quickly, right? Well, you get this thing to drain quickly by letting air in from the top. Second reason why you want to take the fill plug off first is because if there's a problem with the fill plug, you want to know about it before you drain the oil. So I pulled this out first, and then I pulled this out. You can see the oil is, for transmission oil, it's a little bit dark. That's just what happens when you don't change your transmission oil for 130,000 miles. That's what it looks like. I didn't see any metal shavings, so I don't think that there's going to be any problems there, but it was definitely ready to change. So now I'm going to put the drain plug back on, and then I'm going to fill it with genuine Honda MTF. It's this stuff right here, and then I should be good to go. So when you fill it, you put the little pump thing on there, and you fill it obviously from the drain hole, and you fill it until fluid drains out of the fill hole. And you want to do it with the car level, because if the car is not level, like if it's only jacked up in the front, you're going to probably overfill it, or in this case, underfill it. Because if you have all of your oil going towards the back of the transmission instead of leveling out the way it's supposed to, you're not going to get enough in there. It's going to be underfilled. So we got the oil in the transmission, we got the oil in the engine, we got distilled water in the cooling system. I want to show you something really quick. I knew this was going to happen, but I want to show you anyway, just so that you know that this is part of the diagnostic process. So once I filled the cooling system with distilled water, I filled it as good as I could. I filled it, and then I burped the system as well as I could by squishing this radiator hose. And now I want to pressure test it. This is one of the last things you want to do before you decide to take your car out on the road. So you get the pressure tester, and you stick it on here, and stick this on there. And you just want to pressurize it to, like, 10 bar or something like that. Is that PSI? Yeah, that's PSI, not bar. So you want to just pump it up a little bit and see if it holds pressure. Now mine does not hold pressure, and so that means we have a leak in the system. Let's go take a look at where that leak is coming from. It's coming from the thermostat housing. Like I said, I knew about this because I wanted to get all of the crap out of the system, so I did not put a thermostat in and therefore did not put a gasket in there. So I know I'm leaking there. I'm expecting that. But again, this is just distilled water. It's not going to hurt anything. And I want to run the engine for a few minutes to get whatever crap is going to come out without getting stuck behind the thermostat. I have also not yet bled the brakes. I have filled the reservoir and pulled some fluid through, but the pedal also kind of doesn't do anything yet. There's no engagement. So I want to get some pushback on the clutch pedal. The brakes, the fluid is really dark. I want to get that dark fluid out of there, but I don't need to do that right away. I can do this test fire and then wheel by wheel pull fluid through it so that I can get all of that dark crap out. So yeah, there's a lot of crap that needs to come out of here. So I'm probably going to do this 3 or 4 times. I'm going to drain everything that's in there and then refill it with distilled water, and then just keep doing that until the water comes out clear. Yuck. Well, it's definitely less gross than it was the first time around. This is the 3rd time, and it's starting to clear up. You can almost see the fins of the radiator in there. Yeah, it is much cleaner. So while this thing runs for the 3rd time, let's go grab our thermostat because we're probably going to send it pretty soon. Here's the thermostat. Wait a minute. There's no gasket. This is looking much better, but not quite there. I think I need 2 more rounds of flushing. It's getting much better every single time I do it, so that's really, really good. There is one more problem. With the car off, the brake lights are on. And that is because inside the car, there's these little stoppers that are supposed to be on both the brake and on the clutch, and they are missing from both. So I need to get those little stoppers before I can call this car even remotely done, because that means if the car sits for any amount of time, I have to disconnect the battery. Well, it seems I got lucky because AutoZone had a thermostat gasket. So now we can finish up with the flush. I got more distilled water, so I can finish this flush and then put the thermostat in. And then once my wife gets home, all she's got to do is help me bleed the clutch, and we can pull this thing out of here. This is going to work. Oh, what a relief. We are back on track. So let me get back to flushing the radiator, and I'll show you what it looks like once it's drained. So after looking for my keys for a half an hour, I am much closer to running out of daylight, but that's okay. We have shop lights. So we are flushing for the 4th time, and it doesn't look any better than the last time, but it is looking better overall. The coolant that came out of it, or not even coolant anymore, you can see it is getting lighter, although not much. So I'm really hoping for a dramatic turn of events fairly soon, because this is getting really, really annoying. Right now, once the car stopped, I can definitely see the fins of the radiator. This is actually more promising than it has been in the past. Let's start draining this. It's clear enough that whatever's in there can just live in there, at least for a while, because I may have to rip this all apart again anyway. I won't know until I replace the thermostat and heat this car up completely. But inside here, it's reasonable. It's reasonable. Especially for a very old radiator, it's reasonable. So if there's a problem, we're just going to address it. So now I am going to replace the thermostat or install the thermostat, and then we're going to fill this thing up with coolant. Oh no! Lesson learned. Tighten that by hand. Well, I do have the O-ring that goes to the block. If I take this off, it'll be easier to repair. So, if you see here, there's this little nub. I'm going to see if I can work it entirely out just from this little nub by grabbing it with these little needle nose vice grips. The challenge is that every time I clamp the vice grips down, it wants to fall out of my table vise because my table vise is just absolute garbage. Someone said I needed a table vise, and they are absolutely correct. I do need a table vise. I know I do, and it is high on my list of tools to buy very, very soon. So this is working, but it is taking an eternity. So I guess I'll check in with you when I'm done. Yes! It came out. So now I have to retap this hole and then find a replacement bolt, and we're back in business. I think this will do. It's a little short, but I think it'll do. Might be harder to recover if I snap that one. So this is M6 1.0. We used our measuring tool to determine that. So this is the kind of problem that you can only solve quickly after you've run into it a few times and suffered severe delays because all of a sudden you don't have the tools to fix this thing. The only reason I have a tap and die kit is because I've had to do this before. So I'm lucky in that sense that I'm prepared. And the only reason I knew to be prepared is because this has happened to me before. I also have a box full of Honda Prelude, not just Honda nuts and bolts. All right, that's retapped. We should be good to go. I probably want to spray this whole thing down with carb cleaner to clean it. I also want to run the wire wheel in here, not too hard because I don't want to take these sensors out, but I do want to clean out some of this garbage. Okay. Now I want to switch to the wheel part of the wire wheel, clean up these mating surfaces. I got to take out the old gasket too. Yeah, that probably would have started leaking soon anyway. Oh no. Oh. Yep. I need to go get another new gasket because I pinched it. That's not going to hold. There's no way. Honestly, I'd be yelling and screaming right now. I am really surprised that I haven't completely lost my mind, but I'm past it. I'm miles past that point right now. I'm just got to Superman it. That's it. That's all there is to it. Wow. Yeah, that was gonna leak. So I have to get another gasket, which means I've got to go out to another AutoZone and hope there is one nearby and pick one of these up. Because I don't want to risk pinching another one, I'm gonna leave this off the car and I'm just gonna go get this gasket, reinstall it right here, and then we'll put this all on in one unit. So I have distilled water in the system. This actually separated out really well. So I went ahead and reused some of it. I used these two bottles, which is why they're mixed up. But you can see in this bottle up here, it's like really clean at the top. So I was able to just pour a little bit in and get clean water in. That's going to help me flush it out just a little bit more, and it's going to help me complete my diagnostics. So I put the thermostat in with a new gasket, got everything all back together, and I have pumped up the radiator system to what, 12-ish, just slightly under 12. So we're going to come back here in just a couple of minutes. Let's go take a look at our pressure gauge to make sure we are still at above 10. Looks like I hear it hissing. I hear it hissing. Oh, look at that. We need a radiator. All right, well, now we know. The good news about this, though, is that now we know why block sealer was poured into the cooling system. There was a leak. It was coming out here, and he tried to stop it by pouring block sealer. Wow, so now I just need a radiator. I mean, it's pretty straightforward to me, right? So while that is disappointing, and that means I'm definitely not done spending time and money on this car, that's not going to stop me from pulling it out of the garage. That can be done in a day. That can be done in a few hours. That's not a tear-down project. So that's not going to stop us. We're going to press on. We know about this, and I'll find a solution, and we'll do it together, but we don't have to do it together next week. So I reinstalled the factory muffler. This is the one that came out of it. This was the bandage that I didn't really like. I just didn't like the shapes of the tubes. I didn't like the way it flowed downward and not out the back. But I do like the sound of this Flowmaster, so I do have another project in mind. I'm going to use that for my TR7. On the Prelude, however, I've got the factory muffler back on with the dual tips. It looks much better. We're going to see this thing in better light later on. It doesn't look amazing, but that said, it does look much, much better than having the exhaust going pointed downward. So let's take a pause for a second to talk about our goals. At the beginning of this video, I said that my goal was to get that Camaro into the garage and into this space right here. And in order to do that, I have to get this car on the ground and drive it out. Now, I have some friends that are going to come over and help me move that Camaro. So actually getting this thing into the garage in order to get a video out for you guys is going to take a little bit longer, but it is dependent on their schedules. It is not dependent on my schedule. So I'm going to take what I can get. If I got friends saying they're going to help me out with this Camaro, then I'm going to bend over backwards. I'm going to give them pizza and beer, and we're going to have a lot of fun, and we're going to roll camera. So that means that even though I don't need to get this thing out today, I want to know that I can bring it out today. So we're going to first start up this car. We're going to run it and make sure the clutch goes in, make sure that we can change gears, make sure that everything feels right before we put this thing on the ground, because we want to do that because there's a bunch of stuff here. This scaffolding would be absolutely disastrous if this car were to start taking off forward out of control. That car would be absolutely disastrous if this car were to take off and start driving forward. So a whole lot of things could go wrong if I just jump right into it. And I am obviously procrastinating because I am nervous. Let's get into the car. I'm going to start it up, and we're going to see if we can change gears correctly. Oh, that sounds good. Oh, wow. All right. Clutch feels so good. Thanks to my wife for helping me bleed this thing. Now, let's see if we can go into gear. We're in the second. first. Oh, yeah. Wheels should be turning. I can hear the rust kind of grinding away. Yeah. Yeah, wheels are spinning. Clutch is in. Second gear. Oh, this might work. This might work. This car sounds so good. Can you tell I'm excited? This is really exciting. The next step is to get this thing on the ground. Get it off of the jack stands. Onto the ground. Okay, here we go. This is the real thing now. All we need to do is to pull the car up a few feet and then back a few feet. We're also going to see if the power steering works. Ooh. Oh, the power steering feels great. All right, so I've got the brakes. The brakes do work. I've also got the handbrake. Now I'm going to put it in first gear. Goes into first gear. Yeah! Oh, the clutch engages really nicely. It changes gears really smooth. Ooh, this is nice. Oh, this is nice. Oh, this is... Oh, I keep saying this is nice, but it really is great. And I hit something. Oh, yeah! It sounds so good! So as you saw, we're not quite done yet, but we have come so far. We just learned in this video that we had a huge undisclosed problem, and that was the block sealer that was in the cooling system. But we learned that it was just a leaking radiator, and that means there's no mystery here. That means all I need to do is replace the radiator. So that to me is great news because I can do that. I mean, you saw what I did before. I can handle a radiator. And the system is filled with distilled water, so it's totally fine. I didn't waste any money here. Guys, I can't be happier. I can't be happier with the progress on this car. So aside from a couple of little things here and there, the radiator, adjusting the hood, and then I've got to put an antenna on the back. That is pretty much it for everything that is not on the interior of the car. So in the interior of the car, we've got to do a little audio. There's no speakers in here, so we're going to put some speakers in. We're going to put a head unit in, wire it all up. We're going to take the tint out of the windows and just really clean everything up to look as presentable as possible. I also have to fix the glove box. But that's all stuff that doesn't need to be done here. That's all stuff that doesn't need to block the Camaro. So that means we can work on the Camaro. Thank you all so much for watching. If you like what you see, like, share, subscribe, and comment. And if you don't like what you see, leave a comment anyway, because I really want to hear from you. If you have any suggestions for what I should do for audio in this car, I'm thinking of MB Quart speakers wired into the factory head unit, but there also might be some other tricks that I want to try along the way. If you have any ideas, drop it in the comment section below. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.